Ladies and gentlemen, this is El Cochino, Tom Lawler, and I'd like to welcome you to the podcast that puts the lotion on its own skin, LuchaWorld. Bitchin'.
We're back again, LuchaWorld Podcast episode number 96. Fredo Esparza here. Kurt Brown is not here this week. He's still recovering from attending that bar wrestling show that we went to this past Thursday. Actually, we only watched one match, unfortunately. They had a really strange setup for their show, which is, I mean, we've been to lucha shows where they've had strange setups, so it wasn't that wasn't really the only reason we left early. It started at 9 p.m. and I don't know, it just kind of I joked with Kurt that I was hoping maybe they if the first match was the match featuring Penta, El Cero M, and Rey Fenix, that I would be okay with just watching that one match. And I guess Kurt kind of took it. We laughed about it, but it turned out to be what happened. They ended up being the opening match, and there really wasn't anybody else I really wanted to watch on that show. They had a lot of guys that are more they're known names and stuff, and I'm sure it's a good show and all, but I'm not really a huge Hurricane Helms or some of the Eli Drake, those guys I'm not really that interested in. I'm more of a lucha guy, and I got that barely watching Penta and Rey Fenix versus Willie Mack and Scorpio Sky. The crowd was great for this show. I think they sold out for it, but the problem was everybody was standing up, so if you were way in the back, you really couldn't see most of the match. So it was mostly you just reacting to what the rest of the crowd was watching, and that wasn't as it wasn't as enjoyable as it sounds. I don't know. It was just the way it was set up. I think it might come off better if you're watching it like on video, because you get to see the actual match, and you do see the energetic crowd. But if you're there and you're standing behind people who are a lot taller than you, or a lot bigger than you, and it's like you can't really see over them, or you're seeing over the tops of heads of people, it's not that enjoyable to watch. We were standing right next to Rey Fenix's wife, who she was in the merch section for Pentagon, where they were selling Pentagon's his mask and his t-shirts, and she had her baby with her. So I thought about complimenting her on her bowling skills. If you haven't watched the video that Puma King and Barbie posted, where they challenged Rey Fenix and his wife to a bowling match or contest or whatever it's called, highly recommend watching that. They pretty much destroyed Puma and Barbie in that. But she was taking care of her baby, and her baby was kind of, I think the crowd was a little too loud for the baby, and she wanted to watch that match too. And then as soon as that match ended, that's also why we left. As soon as that match ended, I noticed she was already packing her stuff up. Rey Fenix and Pentagon were going to be wrestling the following night in Saltillo for the Crash and Producciones AOZA or whatever they're called. So we knew they were going to get a flight out pretty soon, so it wasn't something, we just decided we were better off just watching that one match and leaving. We've watched a lot less at lucha shows. I remember we've gone to shows where we basically just stay backstage talking to like some of the guys and don't watch any of the match, and we paid to go to these shows, and we don't get to see the action sometimes. But that's part of the charm of going to lucha shows and not really going with a plan, or wrestling shows. We don't really go with a plan. We sometimes get interviews. If we get interviews, we don't watch most of the shows. If we don't get interviews, we watch a lot of the shows. And in some cases, we just don't want to stick around to watch some of the shows because, we might be busy the next day, or, the show itself, there's only like maybe a handful of matches we want to watch. And, fortunately at Bar Wrestling, we got to see Rey Fenix and Pentagon Jr. in their match. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else about that. While the building, the way it was set up, it's kind of like a rectangular looking building where the sides the ring kind of cuts a lot of the side. Basically, you have a long section where you could fill in the crowd, and then the sides there's really no room, and then the back end there's even less. I think that was just basically the entrance area, and they had the camera there, and whoever was like ring announcing was standing there. So basically, you have one side where there's 200 people, standing. It's really difficult to watch in that form, and I think that the thing that they have, of course, it being called bar wrestling, there's a bar, so you could order drinks, and I think a lot of the fans are there just for the just to be part of the show more than anything else. If they get to watch some of the matches, it's a bonus. But since we weren't drinking, we kind of just felt we had to leave. But other than that, it's time to really get to the big news of this past weekend. A lot of news happened. I think typical Lucha Libre, you basically have a couple of weeks where nothing's going on. You're just getting a bunch of tournaments. AAA is not running any live shows at certain points. This past Friday, we actually got not only the finals for the Gran Alternativa for CMLL, their Friday show, but we also got a AAA TV taping. And this TV taping, the highlight was that there were a bunch of surprises lined up on the show poster. If you go to it, it's basically a lot of surprises, surprise matches, surprise opponents, all of that. Although I think some of the surprises weren't really. I think people were expecting more out of those surprises. And I think for me, the big surprise was that they actually had another good show. And, I enjoy the fact that they show these on Twitch. The trouble is I have to watch these live, as they're happening, because I'm not going to subscribe to AAA's TV Twitch just because, they're going to post it at some point on their YouTube channel. So, if I miss something, usually it ends up being, I don't have to see La Mascara and Maximo versus Psychosis and Hysteria, or Pagano versus Dr. Wagner Jr. There's usually only a handful of matches I really want to watch. But this week, that happened. 2 big shows. The Crash had another weekend of shows that they were running. Unfortunately, we can't watch any of the Crash shows. I assume they're taping at least the Tijuana shows, but they're still not doing that stuff. So AAA had a show built around a bunch of surprises. They ended up not having the big surprise this past weekend. CMLL had the big surprise, as LA Park made his return to CMLL. It happened after the main event, after Flyer and Volador Jr. beat Templario and Ultimo Guerrero to win the Gran Alternativa Final. Los Ingobernables ran in, attacked Flyer and Volador Jr., and immediately following them was the big surprise of LA Park making the save for his nephews, Volador Jr. and Flyer. Also accompanying LA Park, I know many of you are just as surprised as I was. Hijo de LA Park made his way to CMLL and made the save as well for his cousins. Hijo de LA Park, unfortunately he hasn't really, if he was at least a good worker, I think we'd at least be talking about, oh, he's good. He's a good addition and stuff, he's okay, but he's not good, And so he's with his dad, and it's like, he's with him, joy. But yeah, they made the save for Volador Jr. and Flyer. LA Park grabbed the mic and immediately cursed in the mic. And surprisingly, CML did not cut him off until the very end. They cut off the mic when, once Rush cut his promo, they decided not to let LA Park say more. I don't think he said more afterwards. He did do a post match interview backstage, talking about how happy he was to be back in Arena Mexico with CMLL. LA Park challenged Rush to a hair versus mask match. That seems like that's the plan for the anniversary. I don't know. I don't think CML is bringing LA Park in with the idea that they could have him around for much longer, beyond the anniversary show. So I'm assuming that's going to be what it's going to happen. If he even gets to that point, because if we followed LA Park's track record in the past, wrestling in Arena Mexico for CMLL or for anyone else, it doesn't really last that long. So, hopefully it does work out. I think this time I think it'd be good just because this is something that the fans have been wanting. LA Park and Roosh Online and their fans have constantly been talking about wanting this match. And I think CML, maybe they noticed Atlantis. They can't get a main event singles match out of Atlantis this year. Maybe they don't see they've already used Cuatrero versus Angel de Oro. They've pretty much already done that. So I don't know what other young talent they could throw out there right now, unless they did Mephisto, versus a young guy, or, a hair match, Rush versus somebody, or Cranio versus Rush. But clearly those weren't going to match up what Roosh versus LA Park could be. And I think that's the plan. Hopefully that is what they could get to. But like I said, LA Park and Rush, they're wild. Things can happen. Things can go south rather quickly. Hopefully they don't. But, adding LA Park, LA Park was pretty much, he mentioned about a month ago that he had to decide between CMLL and AAA because both promotions had been wanting to get him to work some shows for them. And, he had that back and forth with Dorian Roldan online about, Dorian Roldan wanting him to be in that Poker de Aces cage match at Triple Mania. I guess now that's, at the moment that might not be happening, but you don't know if it might or might not happen. It's funny because this happens on the, I don't know, maybe CMLL saw that poster for AAA and saw those surprises. They've seen some of the announcements for Verano, Escandalo. They've already seen Alberto's announced for Triple Mania. So maybe they thought, we got to do something too, because AAA started doing a lot of surprises since, they're doing a lot of this stuff. So maybe it's time we join in on the fun. I don't know. Something happened with CML. I would like to think it's that, but, having been a long time Lucha Libre fan, having followed it for such a long time, CML, sometimes they don't really react for the reasons that we think they're reacting. It's possible it could be that. Could be that they just realized, they really wanted this. And, Rush is one of the guys that basically calls, his own shots. Maybe he really wanted it, kind of, went to Paco and the, programming department and begged them to do this. And, I don't know, because Ali Park cursed, so, they obviously knew what they were getting this time around, and they didn't back out right away. They've already got him booked for next Friday. It's going to be Familia Real, LA Park, Flyer, and Volador Jr. versus Los Ingobernables, Rush, El Terrible, and Bestia del Ring. It's unfortunate we have Bestia del Ring. That's going to be the big concern in this match. Who's going to do the dive on Bestia del Ring? He'll probably have to be Flyer, since they kind of need LA Park and Volador Jr. to sell tickets at the moment. They could sacrifice Flyer for the time being. But, it's pretty impressive. It's pretty amazing that they went from Cranio to LA Park rather quickly. I'm going to assume, we're probably going to get Familia Real a lot. We're probably going to get LA Park teaming up with Cranio and some other guys against the Ingobernables. We're probably going to, obviously, CML's in that, that current, they're really getting a kick out of that whole Relevos Increíbles concept. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just continue with that as well. So yeah, the LA Park returning was the big news for CMLL and really in all of Lucha Libre this past weekend. The other big news from CMLL was that Gran Alternativa Final with Flyer and Volador Jr. beating Templario and Ultimo Guerrero. It's clear Templario really needs to be in the main event group, or at least in the mix. I know Ultimo Guerrero in Informa, he was asked if he had considered Templario joining Los Guerreros Laguneros. He said he's thought about it. Templario's not a Lagunero. I think Templario's he mentioned he was from some other region. I forgot where. It's where he said, where his taco restaurant or whatever it is he has is located. I forgot where it was. But Ultimo Girl said, he's good enough where he should be in the group. I think for Templario's sake, I hope he does become part of the Guerreros Laguneros, just because that elevates him a lot quicker than, I think you could have the possibility of him joining another trio, but this group is already on top. Worst case scenario, he's just in the mix of when they do they have Ultimo Girl working, main events with some other guys. They'll just have Templario team up with Euphoria and Gran Guerrero in a semi-main event, or in the main events, they'll send one guy elsewhere and or two guys elsewhere. They'll have Templario with the Ultimo Girl or one of the other guys in the main event. I think that's the solution for him. I think he doesn't want to be. The worst spot for him would be teaming up with Dragon Rojo Jr. and Polvora. That has been like a cursed third spot. We haven't really seen anybody last that's been in that group. They could create another group, but they've already have the Dinamitas, they have the Ingobernables, Guerreros Laguneros, Hijos del Infierno. They already have 4 groups that are at that top, in the semi-main and main event groups. Peste Negra, so that are already filled up. So it would make more sense for him to just be thrown into the Guerreros Laguneros rather than him. I know a lot of people say, well, you could form a new group with Hechicero, Templario, and somebody else. And yeah, it sounds awesome, but then that group's just going to be lower than these other guys, and it makes more sense just to have them be up there a little higher. Flyer gets automatically moved up to the main event. That's one of the things when you win Gran Alternativa, you immediately get a main event match. And if you're good in that main event match, usually you stick near the top or, around that group. 3rd, 4th match up is usually where you end up. Actually, 4th match up, you end up being there depending on if the women are put in a higher spot. Or in, big events like anniversary where you might work an opener because it's it's the top guys or the bigger names are on it. Bigger matches are in it. But that's where, Flyer, hopefully he ends up being a part of that. And he probably is going to be in that if it's going to be a Familia Real versus Ingobernables feud. Just to go from, May to September. You're going to have these matches a little more frequently. So I'm guessing that's going to be part of the deal. So yeah, the semi-main event had, the match itself, I should mention the Gran Alternativa Final. Really good match. Templario held his own. I really enjoyed the fact that we finally got to see Volador Jr. versus Templario. I was really wanting to see that. Flyer looked good. I think this was probably the best Flyer has looked in these bigger matches. And he looked really bad. He looked really sloppy against Magia Blanca, but that I could totally understand nerves, and also Magia Blanca's not as experienced as Ultimo Guerrero or Templario. And so, this was really a good way to showcase Flyer. He looked good. Volador Jr., good as always. Just a fun match. Highly recommended. I highly recommend you watch that. The entire show was really good. I only skipped the opener just because it had Espanto Jr. and Hijo del Signo. I don't think I need to watch that. The second match was good. You're always going to get a good match when it involves Puma, Tiger, and the Panther and Blue Panther Jr. And, they had their partners, Okumura teamed with Puma and Tiger, and Drone teamed up with the Panther and Blue Panther Jr. Good match. The third match was Guerrero Maya Jr. beating Fuego in a match Relampago. I thought that was pretty... I think those technical match Relampagos have been really good. Again, that kind of shows how bad some of the undercard Rudos are, where they're not really doing as much for these younger or the lower card technicos. Where, we're seeing technical versus technical match Relampagos, and they've been really good. I thought this was good. The fourth match, Dinamitas versus Angel de Oro, Místico, Soberano Jr. Another good match. Dinamitas are just a fantastic trio. And these technicals fit what they do. I think the only thing I didn't like was when Soberano Jr. does that tornillo in the ring. If he lands, because he kind of lands standing sometimes. And when he did this time around, he kind of landed standing rather than usually he'll land a little bit more angular where he'll actually hit the guy's chest area and they'll fall for a pin or whatever. And this time he kind of landed a little more, he's straighter at his opponent, and they both landed awkwardly. That was the only thing I kind of didn't like about that match. But the rest of it was really good. I mean, that's just me nitpicking, really. But the rest of it was really good. Just a really fun match. Like I said, good show. Even the Ingobernables match against Atlantis, Diamante, Azul, and Cranio was passable. I would say okay. One of the better Ingobernables matches, especially when you have Bestia in the match. I thought this was a fun match. Yeah, CML was good. There's some people who are kind of like starting some rumblings about, there being more surprises coming for CMLL. I don't know. I watched an interview with Ray Phoenix, and then there was a couple of other people who have been talking about stuff, and Penta kind of challenged Caristico about going to his house, which I don't know. I mean, Caristico's house is around Mexico. I think that's what people are immediately going to assume that's going to be what's going on. And with the Crash the Crash, I think a lot of people don't realize the Crash is an independent promotion. So right now, if you look at their the show that's coming up in June, it has Alberto and Rey Mysterio, who are going to be in AAA, and then it has Roosh, who's in CMLL, and it has a couple of other people that are. I think there's at least one more person from CML that's going to be, or not CML, but somebody who's working CMLL that's going to be on that show. So it's kind of like this weird promotion that has all these names. But I think a lot of people are going to, based on what some people are rumoring, I think that's, the guys that are going to be talked about. I don't know. Plans can change. You will have to stay tuned. It could be nothing, really. I mean, for all we know, because a lot of the people, they'll get a rumor coming out, and like next thing you know, like nothing happens, and it happens frequently in wrestling. I mean, I know like Meltzer catches a lot of heat for some of the stuff he like, because he's more open about like revealing stuff, and as soon as he reveals it, people are immediately like trashing him, and when it doesn't happen, they start trashing him and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff that happens that a lot of us will wait for somebody else to reveal it. And usually we wait for Dave Meltzer to reveal it because, he's the one that's crazy enough to do it. The rest of us don't want to catch heat for it. But yeah, that's, I don't know if that's going to happen. Like I said, but you never know. That's all I can really say. AAA had a really fun show. I watched that live. I watched CML the following day. But the AAA show on Twitch was really good. There's a couple of matches that I mean, you could totally skip if you're subscribing to the show, or if you could watch it later on when they post it on YouTube, the TV version. There's a couple of things you could probably skip, but it was really good. I mean, there were 3 matches that I thought this year I've probably watched more AAA this year than I did last year. Because last year I just decided to skip a lot of the TV shows because they were so bad. And it's really just a matter of just looking at the lineups. You could tell it was going to be bad. A lot of La Parca and Dave the Clown. You don't see Dave the Clown on these shows. That's the one thing you don't see now that Conan's back. The opening match was amazing. Latigo and Toxin beat Aramis and Astrolux. The one thing that was really weird about this show was that they were announcing the guys, but they were announcing them out of order. So like you had like, I think Toxin, I can't remember who was the first one that got announced, but they announced the opponent next, and then they announced the other guy, and then you like saw them standing on opposite sides, so you kind of figured out that okay, they're announcing them incorrectly, and they didn't just do it for this one match. They did it, I think, for the first 3 matches, because once you get past the 3 matches, then you have more regular known tag teams and stuff like that. But the opener was great. I would say it was probably the second or third best match of the year for AAA. I think the best match of the year for AAA was that opener from the April 20th show with the Crash guys, who are apparently no longer the Crash guys, now the AAA guys. Or who knows, maybe they might return, you never know. But they seem to be, at this moment, AAA guys. That match was amazing. But this match was really good. Aramis is going to be a star. I mean, I think right now, whatever Bandito's doing on the indie scene, and he's kind of like, he's kind of the name that everybody's talking about. Like, he's the next guy right now. Aramis will probably be the next guy that everybody's going to be talking about. hopefully he doesn't sign a contract with AAA and just works dates for them because, you know, last thing he wants to do is be stuck with them and like have to deal with that issue long term. But yeah, as long as I mean the exposure from I think the most important thing about right now going to AAA isn't about signing a contract with AAA. It's about Conan seeing you and getting to know you. And you know, love or hate Conan, he's the kind of the guy that opens up the doors for a lot of these guys to come to the United States, you know, be it through, you know, his connections with some of the people he's worked with or some of the people who just know him as somebody who has an eye for talent. You know, that's really the most important thing for a lot of these guys. And Aramis, I think he's going to be a guy who's all four of these guys were really good, but Aramis, I think, is going to be a star at some point. Astrolux will be too, but I think he's still, what is he, like 15, like 2 years ago? So he's got to be like 16, 17 right now. Or he might still be 15 right now. Who knows? But really fun match. The second match, Argenis and Hijo del Vikingo beating Halcón 78 Jr. and La Parca Negra. Good match also. Not as good as the first match, but good. Hijo del Vikingo, another guy who's fantastic. He's going to be another guy that you got to keep an eye out for him. Tons of talent. I think he's definitely going to be. He's going to be the next. He's going to be one of the guys. I think Aramis and Hijo del Vikingo, because AAA kind of focuses more on the heavyweights than anything else. I think these guys are probably going to be bigger stars on the indie scene in the U.S. and in, you know, and maybe like in Mexico as well than they will be in like AAA, as far as like, it's going to be kind of like when Rey Mysterio Jr. and Juventud Guerrera were in AAA, where they were like stars, kind of stars, but they weren't like the main guys in the promotion. They were kind of like working the hot match in the middle. And then like they became huge stars when they went to ECW, WCW. They were the guys like people wanted. It wasn't the, you know, the Dinamitas and all those guys that were working the main events that people cared about. Conan, guys like that. Conan, I mean, did well, but he wasn't at that level. After the match, Killer Kevin Cross came out and destroyed everyone. But the cool thing was they waited till the end and let these guys have a really good match. That was really important. I thought that was very well booked. That was something that you wouldn't have seen from the previous people running AAA. Past guys would have just had him kill them as the match was going on, and they actually let them finish it out, which I thought was cool. Third match was Faby Apache and Hades beating Ashley and Lady Shani. Good women's match. Faby Apache's really like, she's really great as a heel. I have a feeling because Mary Apache and Natsumi are back in Mexico. I have a feeling that they're probably going to end up teaming up with Faby at some point in AAA. And the only reason I think Natsumi will probably end up working in AAA sooner than I think anyone would have expected is because now you see Astrolux in AAA, and I don't think he's 18 yet. So, although it's probably like a big secret, but I mean, it can't be a secret. Look at his body physically; he looks like he's very small. But this match was good. I really like the fact that Faby, after the match, Faby kept beating up on Ashley, and then her partner Hades tried to calm her down, pulled her off of Ashley, and then Faby just started beating up Hades. Lady Shani had to make the save, so you had Hades kind of like siding with kind of like going with the technicas. So that's why I think Mary and Natsumi will probably end up in AAA at some point, just because, you know, Faby's gonna be on her own. It's probably gonna be like a family, like a deal with them against the AAA women. The fourth match was the one match you should definitely skip. La Máscara and Maximo beating Hysteria and Psychosis. Pretty much felt like a CMLL. Whatever we watched of them in CMLL just got switched over to AAA. I don't know. Maximo's still okay, you know. I think he's still good. But, you know, La Máscara, pretty much what you see is what you get with La Máscara. Fifth match, Rey Escorpión and Tejano Jr. beating Aerostar and Drago. Good match. Samoano interfered, but still really good. Tejano Jr., Rey Escorpión, perfect opponents for Aerostar and Drago. For Aerostar and Drago to do their crazy dives and stuff like that. I thought this is gonna be a fun. They're gonna have a fun tag. I think they left enough to have a really good tag title match. I think these guys, this was really fun. I really like Rey Scorpion and Tejano Jr. as a tag team. They actually showed a video clip of Aerostar and Drago training, and then Rey Scorpion and Tejano Jr. showing up with like a couple of other guys to like poke fun at them. And then they told him, "Hey, let's have a match." And they had like this octagon cage, MMA cage, and Rey Scorpion was like, "Well, let's do it now." So they opened up the cage door, and like Aerostar and Drago ran in into the cage, and Rey Scorpion Tejano Jr. ended up closing it and make fun of them for being stuck in the cage. I thought that was kind of a cool little video for them to show to build up to this match. Like I said, this match was really good. I liked it. I thought this was a good match. Seventh match was Hijo del Fantasma and Psycho Clown beating Hernandez and Kevin Cross. This was a strange match because Hernandez had previously been attacked by Mad, and I think everybody was just waiting for Mad to interfere for this match. Earlier, Conan had posted a picture of Kevin Cross and Juventud Guerrero with two other guys wearing the Mad masks on them, and so everybody kind of assumed that was where they were going to debut. Kevin Cross turned on Hernandez, which allowed Hijo del Fantasma and Psycho Clown to get the win. While this was going on, Juventud Guerrera snuck around and was like teasing that he was going to interfere, and finally did attack Hijo del Fantasma. Kevin Cross came back and attacked Psycho Clown. Then a masked Mad member showed up in the entrance area. Clearly it was Conan. Hugo Savinovich kind of hinted that it was Conan too, so that even if Conan wasn't hoping that it wasn't hinted, it kind of was hinted. I don't know. I thought it was I think people were expecting at least one more Mad member to be added. I honestly think that them not showing one more member and LA Park showing up in CML, I think kind of, because I think by this point was when LA Park had made his way, somewhere around this point. I think it might have been around the fifth or sixth match where the buzz was LA Park in Arena Mexico, and I think it's kind of like this match happening and nothing going on kind of deflated it. But I think a lot of people were maybe thinking, well, maybe they're gonna save Mad for the main event, because they changed the final two matches. They changed a lot of the lineup of, as usual. AAA changed the lineup. The last match was Dr. Wagner Jr. defending the AAA World Mega Heavyweight title against Pagano. He ended up winning. Okay match. Lady Shani was ringside with Pagano as his second for the title match, and no one could figure it out till the very end when Faby Apache ran in and attacked Lady Shani. Like I said, they're at least building that feud up, which I think is really good, especially since that's the one match. That's one of the two matches that we know is happening in Triple Mania. So I think that's really good that they're building that up. Then Murder Clown ran out and attacked Pagano. So they're building up a Murder Clown versus Pagano match at some point. I know everyone's excited about that one. But yeah, Dr. Wagner just left, and then really there was nothing else that happened afterwards. So I think the surprises for AAA, like I said, to me the big surprise. Oh, I forgot to mention the sixth match. Somehow I forgot the sixth match. That was really good. I think if you're going to pick the three best matches of the year for AAA, Poder del Norte beating Los OGTs. This match on this show, I thought it was a lot better than the previous match that I saw of them. They've had a couple of matches where supposedly it was going to be the last match that they've had, but they had that other match that I can't remember when it was, where they used a lot of gimmicks, like a lot of they were using more weapons and stuff. Well, in this one they were taking a lot of stiff chair shots, but this match was really good. I really enjoyed it. This feud is really good. I thought this was definitely probably this was really a good way to build up their hair match for, I think it's Verano Escandalo. I have that written down here, actually. Yep, I have it written down here, and it is happening at Verano Escandalo, and it's actually the semi-main event. So that was a really good way to build it up. These two trios are, like I said, I think Poder del Norte kind of caught a lot of heat last year when they were moved up to, they were kind of pushed high on the card, more so out of necessity when everybody was leaving at that point. and they're good. They're a good trio. I think right now that the way they're feuding with OGTs, now you can kind of see that their value has kind of, picked up. It's hard to, like, when you're main eventing on bad shows, you don't see them at the same level as you might see them, maybe in the semi-main or like the fifth or sixth match on a really strong card where they're actually working with Los OGTs. And I think they really showed a lot more in this. They've shown more in this feud than they did last year in whatever whatever AAA was doing with them. OGTs, like I said, really solid, really good match. I kind of would put this as the third best match I've seen in AAA this year, just because to me I really enjoyed that the April 20th opener. I thought that was fantastic. So yeah, this was a really fun show. If you didn't watch it, if you want to subscribe to the Twitch, watch it on there. If you want to wait, you could watch it on their YouTube channel when it gets posted. I think it'll probably get posted later, like 2-3 weeks. But yeah, definitely good. AAA also announced they announced more matches for Verano de Escandalo, which is happening on June 3rd. They kind of removed a lot of the Luchador Sorpresas. They had a Luchador Sorpresa in the main event that was going to be a three-way between Dr. Wagner Jr., who would be defending his AAA World Mega Heavyweight title against Rey Mysterio Jr. and a Luchador Sorpresa. They had actually removed it, but apparently they might have, like, they're kind of like leaning, they're going back and forth with it. So don't be shocked if there's a third guy in it. And if there isn't, don't be shocked with that either. But they announced more of the matches. They moved up the OGTs versus Poder del Norte hair match to the semi-main event. That could change that day. I don't think it should, because I think these two trios have done enough where they do belong. They do deserve getting that semi-main event spot. I think they definitely deserve it, and they should get it. And it'll also make it, like, it'll give you a little more, like, the end of the show will be a lot stronger than previous AAA shows. The last couple of AAA shows, the last two matches have been very underwhelming. As far as the big shows, Guerra de Titanes and Rey de Reyes, the TV show's a little different. The opener for Verano Escandalo is going to be a mixed Atómicos match, but it's going to be really good, as it has Hijo del Vikingo teaming up with Starfire, making her debut, Arcángel Divino, and making an appearance on a AAA show, Dinastía. They will be making his return, Último Maldito, making their AAA returns. I think they might have wrestled a couple of AAA shows in the past, Ares and Belial. I can't remember, but they're making their returns there, or making their debuts, however you want to say it. They might be there just for that one time, although, like, it's weird right now. Like, if you look at a lot of lineups for like the independent promotions, you're gonna see a lot of, like, guys who are working AAA, who just worked for, like, who worked shows where there were CMLL guys. So there's a little bit of confusion as to what's gonna happen coming up in the next month or so, because I wouldn't be shocked if some of those lineups change based on where these guys end up. And also in this match, the woman in this match is listed as Lady Maravilla. She has not said anything. She's been on a couple of AAA. She's been on a couple of CMLL shows since this show was announced. But there's been CMLL people who have had cold feet about leaving. Maximo was one. There's been others. Maximo's probably the most prominent one at one point, just because he turned it into a bit of a joke later on. But this match looks good. They could get rid of the women out of this, really, and it'd be great. Because I don't think Lady Maravilla or Starfire could hang with these guys. But at least they could do the I think really a lot of the women in Mexico, they work better against the guys, just because I don't know, the women, a lot of the women in Mexico aren't that good. The second match is it's a trios match, and it's also another mixed match, as it's going to be Lady Shani teaming up with Mamba and Pimpinela Escarlata versus La Hiedra, Black Danger, and a Luchador Sorpresa. I wouldn't be shocked if the Luchador Sorpresa ends up being like Faby Apache, or somebody else that maybe is going to be part of this whole angle with Lady Shani. I have, or maybe they're going to start a feud with the Exoticos. Who knows? But Yeah, that probably isn't going to be that great. The third match, Drago, Sammy Guevara, Drago versus Sammy Guevara versus Australian Suicide versus Darby Allin, who's going to be making his debut versus Aerostar. A couple of people from Mexico asked me who Darby Allin is. Um, I mean, really, you could just Google search him and you'll find on YouTube like videos and stuff like that. But what I know about Darby Allin is he's crazy. He's done a lot of crazy spots and stuff like that. So that's really what I know more about than anything else. And this match is pretty much made for that. If you're looking at the guys who are involved in this, you know Aerostar is going to do something crazy, it being a big show. The fourth match is going to be Pagano, Maximo, and La Mascara versus Juventud Guerra, Tejano Jr., and Killer Cross. I have a weird feeling that the fourth and fifth match are going to change just because I don't understand why they have Tejano Jr. teaming up with Killer Cross and Juventud Guerrera when that should be more about Mad. And then the fifth match has Psycho Clown and Hijo Fantasma versus Brian Cage and Rey Scorpion. That should probably be they should probably have Brian Cage in the other match teaming up with Juvi and Killer Cross and Tejano Jr. teaming up with Rey Scorpion. Really, more than anything else. And then, as I mentioned, the sixth match is OGTs versus Poder del Norte, and the seventh match is going to be Wagner defending against Rey Mysterio Jr. That could have a luchador sorpresa. That might not have another luchador sorpresa. Who knows? It's AAA. For all we know, they might change the entire lineup. So that's AAA. One of the interesting things that you'll see also lately is, like I was saying, a lot of the indie promotions like the Crash, Lucha Memes. They've been announcing a lot of their June lineups, and I know like Aramis is working a Lucha Memes show, and there's a couple of like the Crash shows have a lot of the guys who are, they have a show where it's like Rush. I think the main event for the Crash show on June 16th in Tijuana has Rush on opposite sides. I think it's Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Alberto versus Rush, Garza Jr. and Bestia, I think, or somebody else. But it's a really, really weird. The lineups are really interesting. As far as recent matches that I watched that are really good, May 11th show, it had the Gran Alternativa tournament, but it had a really good Negro Casas versus Soberano Jr. match. Highly recommend you watch that if you haven't watched it already. Really good. Negro Casas mentioned how he's never held the national welterweight title. So hopefully we get another rematch between these two in June. Right now, Dragon Lee, actually, I think the last show we did, Dragon Lee was injured. We talked about him being injured. Well, right now he's in Japan participating in the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. I haven't really kept up with it. I know he won the first match. Knowing Dragon Lee, he's probably doing some crazy stuff over there. It's I don't really get that excited about this stuff now. Like I get excited about seeing the matches, but I don't really like you already know Dragon Lee, the way they book the show, the tournament. Like every time I get excited about somebody from CML going there, it always ends up like they end up placing fourth or fifth or sixth. So the excitement level from like the first 2-3 matches immediately fades away as far as the point total and stuff like that, or the standings and stuff like that. What else is going on? I'm trying to think what else is going on. I think that's about it for this week. We're gonna probably do a Lucha Classic. We're gonna do a Lucha Classica this week. It's gonna be the show covering the all the championships in CMLL. It's just gonna be a rundown of like what's the history of the titles, some of what's the most important title, the weight classes, everything you kind of wanted to know about the titles. It's not gonna be like this whole thing where I'm gonna go through and tell you about how like in 1959 so and so held the title, then he dropped it to this time. There's gonna be some stories about stuff maybe like that we know about, like why somebody like vacated a title, or why he how long the person held the title, and some of the big matches and stuff. But it's gonna be more about that, because there's gonna be other shows where we could talk about specific matches and stuff like that. That will be coming up. I think that's about it. I probably will post another Boxy Lucha magazine write-up, not this week, but the week afterwards. I think that's next up. It's going to be the one from 1989. I think if you follow me on Twitter, you might have noticed that I mentioned the Southern Boys And I think I also mentioned it on Facebook. I mentioned the Southern Boys going to Mexico to work for UWA, El Toreo, and Jushin Thunder Liger also going to El Toreo around this time. So that's going to be the magazine I'll be writing about, doing the recap for. And so other than that, that's about it. That's it for this week. Again, be sure to visit the website at LuchaWorld.com. Another reminder, if you want to support the website, feel free to sign up to the Patreon page, where the Patreon page features the Lucha Classica podcast, as I mentioned, the magazine write-ups, and the new podcast, which was added for the $5 reward patrons, called We're Out of Time, covering wrestling shows, TV, and movies featuring wrestlers or about wrestlers, documentaries, and anything else that I might not cover on the other podcast. We're Out of Time podcast. The next one, I'm still like trying to I don't know what it is. I said I was going to do it on Boone the Bounty Hunter, and I'm like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm holding off for such a long time that maybe I'm wishing it out of Netflix, out of the Netflix rotation, so I don't have to watch it. But I will, if it's there by the time we do the Lucha Classica, I will watch it, and I will do a podcast covering that movie. Right now, you could listen to the one on Andre the Giant documentary and the Rock and Roll Wrestling VHS tapes that I did. I think it was last month. I did a couple really consecutively, so check those out. You can also visit our sponsor, Amazon.com. If ordering something from them, click through the link on our site, and they'll send us some money every so often. And they do actually send. I know a lot of people always I know there's a lot of people who are very anti that stuff online, and but I will say Amazon.com is one of the few sponsors that actually does send money. So really, that's about it for this week. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and we will be back again soon.